The impact of Satellite Earth Station Day is still being felt. Good evening, I'm Pat Olson, and this is Satellite Showtime, brought to you by our corporate sponsors, Luxor North America, OnSat and STV Magazines, and Caltronics Incorporated. Satellite Earth Station Day has had its effect on our industry. An example, a brand new group of Wisconsin manufacturers, dealers, and distributors is forming to inform the public about satellite TV. You'll learn about that right after this short break on Satellite Showtime. Stay tuned.
With more than 100 channels available on your home satellite system, a good programming guide is an absolute necessity. OnSat packs more viewing information in its 88-page weekly format than any other program guide, including daily primetime highlights in a handy grid format, plus complete listings in an easy-to-read rolling log. Daily sports listings by category. The largest alphabetical movie description of any satellite guide. A complete listing of satellite locations and each transponder, and much, much more. All of this can be yours for only $45 per year. That's less than $1 per week. We're so sure you'll like OnSat that we would like to send you a free sample copy. Pick up the telephone and call toll-free now for your free copy of OnSat. Call 1-800-438-2020. That's 1-800-438-2020.
Luxor, the antennas that stay in shape and stay on target. Premier quality aluminum mesh antennas engineered to combine superior performance, reliable service, and easy assembly. Maximum setup time 2 hours. Available in two sizes, 9 or 10.5 foot, made of exceptional strength steel. UPS shippable. Durable baked-on acrylic low-luster finish, and a 5-year warranty. The Luxor Premier Quality Aluminum Mesh Antenna. Stay in shape, stay on target. The Luxor is a rugged individual with clean lines and clear view. Each Luxor antenna quickly makes up into a deep dish parabolic curve with ideal geometry for maximum performance. Luxor, the antennas that stay in shape and stay on target.
Welcome back to Satellite Showtime. I'm Pat Olson. Last week we told you Satellite Earth Station Day, October 29th, made more people aware of our industry. Well, inspired by that event, a group of Wisconsinites is forming its own satellite industry support group. The yet unnamed group met last week for the first time. It wants to fight bad press from the cable industry.
It seems the media has been releasing statements that we consider mainly biased, have left out our opinions on key issues. And it's time we feel that the satellite industry as a whole gets their opinion across to the public.
Was Satellite Earth Station Day an inspiration for you to do this?
It most certainly was.
Everybody that comes in is asking, the first question is scrambling. There's no sense of trying to hide it. We don't, and I'm sure none of the other of you do. So we might as well just hit it head on and try to attack it that way, that yes, there is scrambling, but here's the rest of the story.
Talking to a lot of people, they're just really unsure what's happening with scrambling. And once they know in their mind what's really going to happen, I think they'll come around and go into satellite business.
Well, I feel that the industry and the satellite business needs a credibility of not only to pursue against the cable people, but also in the credibility of consumers, that they get the confidence they need in purchasing a unit.
And we're going to be contacting all the media and tell them our side of the story.
Biggest message for the media right now, if you had to send your own news release?
That people do have a choice, and they should be offered a choice of either satellite or cable, and that they should have access at a reasonable, fair rate.
Joe Kelch is joining me now, and he was at the meeting last week. Could you tell me your observations?
Well, Pat, what struck me first of all was that we have a terrific competitiveness among dealers they put that aside just as brothers and sisters do in a family. When the chips are down and someone is rapping on the family, they unite. I think this is a vital time for uniting for our industry. It's happened on many, many levels, but perhaps there are definite needs for this sort of joining together at this time among the states and various parts of each state. What I'm getting at is an organization that is of the satellite dealers or satellite consumers, satellite users, any type of organization where a united front can be put forward. The group that we talked about in Wisconsin, that's just on the verge of getting organization built up, is the Wisconsin Satellite Association, the full name not yet come up with, but the organizational meeting itself, November 19th at 7 p.m. in Madison at Unlimited Satellites. That's at 2219 South Stoughton Road. For information, phone Joel Romnes, R-O-M-N-E-S, 608-222-3242 for further information. You know, unfair attacks by the cable industry has hurt the satellite industry, and we found that out in our meeting this past week. It's hurt it quite badly because of the unorganized or disorganized or yet to be organized status of some parts of our industry. And we've got to get together at this point to meet this competition. The advertising has been unfair. The pricing suggestions and recommendations from the cable industry have been very unfair, at least in our eyes. And I think the public will agree. Fair pricing is essential in payment for these programs, which we all enjoy. The opposition to the satellite industry is going to eat individual dealers one by one unless they do organize at this point. Getting organized in your state is very important, and it's important for the consumer, the owner of a dish, to get organized too and to back the various organizations, because they have much at stake in this fight against the unfairness of the pricing. At this point, I don't think anyone, Pat, has any fear of the word scrambling. Some of the programming will be scrambled. We want fairness, and that's all we're looking for. And that is why I think it's so important to aid one another within the states to get organized and help one another organize.
The Wisconsin group will elect its officers next week, but some other election results are already in. The results for the Space Executive Committee and the Space Dealer Board. First, for the Executive Committee, here are the results. The Chairman, Taylor Howard, President Dave Johnson, Secretary Stan Leaf, and Treasurer Bob Behar. The other members of the Executive Committee are Sandy Worth, Frank Abruzzo, and Mary Lou Hines. Alternates are Ron Wysong and Peter Sutro. Here are the newly elected officers for the Space Dealer Board. Chairman Frank Abruzzo, Vice Chairman Ed Reynolds, and Secretary Dan Wegeland. The Space Dealer Board has been expanded now to include 24 members, and here they are, the dealers representing you. Those were the new members of the Space Dealer Board. Coming up on this evening's Satellite Showtime, Pat Porter, Mike Gustafson, and two special presentations from Shelburne Films. Stay tuned.
Keep those vital satellite components trouble-free with Quick Pro. Protect your LNA motor and actuator from birds and insects. Its flow-through air vents reduce LNA temperature and control moisture. A high-quality soft neoprene cover that works in extreme cold and heat and has the highest infrared, ozone, and ultraviolet ratings. Quick Pro means long life and great protection. To order, call 1-800-821-7384. In Ohio and outside the U.S., call 419-289-2228.
Satellite TV Preview is the best thing next to your satellite dish. With all those programs now at your fingertips, you won't want to miss a thing. Satellite Preview lists over 100 transponders in an easy-to-read weekly grid schedule. It has a daily list of movies, specials, and sports, plus a list of sports by event. Call and subscribe now for only $47.
Welcome to the world of satellite TV opportunities, the Marketing Techniques magazine for satellite television that reviews the latest technology and introduces you to people you should know.
Satellite TV Opportunities is the Marketing Techniques magazine for satellite TV dealers. Our single purpose is to help dealers increase their sales and their profits through improved marketing techniques.
Call today for your subscription to success, 1-800-922-2812, Satellite TV Opportunities magazine.
Luxor, the intelligent satellite system. The top-of-the-line complete satellite system by Luxor. Space-age technology wrapped in a compact, attractive package. The Luxor 9900 system knows where all the satellites are and all about stereo hi-fi sound. All you need to know is what show that you want to watch. Combine it with the premier quality aluminum mesh antennas and you have an unbeatable package. The antennas that stay in shape and stay on target. 5-year warranty. UPS shippable. Durable baked-on acrylic low-luster finish. The perfect match for the 9900. Luxor, the intelligent satellite system.
Welcome back to Satellite Showtime. I'm Pat Olson. Shelburne Films of Reedsville, Ohio has been kind enough to let us use some of their presentations on Satellite Showtime. In just a few minutes, we'll see their brand new Satellite TV Basics videotape. But first, the conclusion of the presentation called Installing Satellite Antennas. It's time to show the hookup of the receiver and the antenna.
This part of the job is simple enough. Just read the manufacturer's wiring instructions and follow these points. Use the cables recommended by the manufacturer. Use good quality cables and don't skimp. Run complete lengths and avoid connectors in the line. Use the proper methods and tools for installing connectors. They are weak points in the system. Pull your cables through a protective pipe, or you can use direct burial cable. Now, connect your cables according to the manufacturer's instructions. You should have a coax cable like RG59 or RG6 to run between the receiver and the down converter. While some systems use this cable to run DC power out to the down converter, other systems use a separate cable. Another cable, usually 2 or 3 wires with a shield, is used to connect the polarization unit to the receiver or to a separate controller. Finally, if you have a motor drive, you'll have a set of cables to connect there too. Now it's time to turn it on and check it out. You may have to adjust your polarization a bit, but once you've got it all set, voila! There it is!
After you hook up the antenna to the receiver inside, if the picture isn't as good inside as it was out at the dish, there may be a problem in the line or the receiver. To find the cause of the problem, you follow a few troubleshooting procedures.
In your mind, break the system down into its subsystems. Then begin eliminating those which you know are working properly, and start rechecking the others.
Generally, your LNA or your feed horn or something that's outside that is exposed to the environment will cause your set to go out. The LNA, the polar rotor, sometimes just wasp nests in the feed horns. Then, of course, your connections, the cable connections. Those are all the basic preliminary things should be checked first, and then if that doesn't cure any of your problems, then it's a matter of swapping components.
It's nice to have an extra system to take out with you and eliminate the LNA, the down converter, receiver, and so on, till you do find what is wrong.
Pay special attention to connectors. Sometimes just loosening and reseating a connector will help. you can lose a lot of signal in a bad connection. Troubleshooting an in-place system can be much easier if you use these headset walkie-talkies instead of setting up a receiver at the dish. Use your meter to spot small improvements in the signal. Sometimes a major problem is simply a collection of minor ones that add up. But troubleshooting expertise will come with experience.
Well, now with the system in and all the bugs worked out, it's time to seal the system against moisture.
Seal all exposed cable connectors with a moldable and removable coax seal. Wrap it and then mold it into place. This is very important, especially the connection between the LNA and down converter. Most LNAs receive their DC power through this end connector, the same one through which the signal passes. If water enters this connector, it acts as a catalyst for a chemical reaction. Combining with the DC voltage and metal of the connector, something happens that's very similar to the corrosion on your car battery terminals. You can spot it right away, a dark goopy substance, a real mess. You must keep the water out. Water will cause an intermittent breaking up of the TV picture and eventually wipe out reception altogether. Well, there you have it. Another successful install. Just remember to tape and secure all your cables and clean up the area. Then it's time to clear out of here so these folks can enjoy their satellite system. Besides, I've got a date.
Ah, satellite TV, a revolution that's working its way into every nook and cranny. Installers must sometimes be creative to solve difficult situations. So wherever you put them, make sure you take your time, make it strong, do it right. Soon you'll be putting them up just like this.
Now on to a segment of the new Shelburne Films production called Satellite TV Basics. It features the latest information about satellite TV technology using plain language and humor. I'm sure you'll enjoy it, and not only is it entertaining, it can be used as a sales tool.
Installing this whole thing in your backyard can be a lot of work.
Are you tired of TV? Watching the same old thing? Tune in to satellite. Give your set some zing.
Direct home reception of satellite signals is perhaps this century's greatest technological achievement, and certainly the backbone of the communications system of the next century. But the next step into the 21st century is up to you.
So many channels, morning, day, and night. Let's get together and watch a movie tonight.
When's the movie start?
This was just part of the 14-minute video presentation called Satellite TV Basics. For any information about this or the production you saw earlier, installing satellite systems, you can contact Shelburne Films at 54545 SR 681, Reedsville, Ohio 45772. Their phone number is 614-378-6297. Tonight we welcome back Bob Cooper, who has a brand new series of reports for us on Satellite Showtime, Coop's TVRO Profiles. And here's his first segment.
Show horses have it made. They get fed 3 regular meals a day. They get their hooves cleaned. They get brushed, pampered. And they only have to work 1 hour a day. I wish I had it that easy.
There are many ladies in the home TVRO industry. There's even a trade association for women in TVRO. This is a profile of one of the most unusual young women in TVRO. Her name is August Anderson. And August is Vice President in charge of marketing for Anderson Scientific in Rapid City, South Dakota. August comes by her position and her responsibilities quite honestly. Her father, Keith, the head of the Anderson TVRO plant, is one of the foremost equipment designers in TVRO. In fact, it was Keith Anderson who created the first low-cost BDC or block down conversion receivers in home TVRO. There is her brother, Mark. Mark is president of Anderson Scientific, perhaps one of the most self-motivated young executives in our industry. And there is brother Alan, another Anderson, of course. Alan serves as a vice president at Anderson Scientific, and he watches over the firm's production of BDC receivers and accessories.
When you disagree, it hurts in a family fashion. When you have conflicts that occur in business, then not only do you anger your fellow co-workers, but you anger your family members, and that can be hard on a person at times. And it's nice to disassociate business with family, but it just cannot be done.
The Anderson family is unique in TVRO. Father Keith invented the solid-state television translator, a rebroadcast transmitter more than 25 years ago. Keith is an unconventional creator of electronic devices, as we shall see in greater depth here later this month.
There is a basic human drive which goes beyond political interests that I think will make it that it gets to be a better world as a result of technology, satellite technology and all the rest, regardless of political obstruction.
But this is about August, a young lady who has a dream. August is an attorney, graduating in the top 10% of her class in California, admitted to practice law before the California bar. August has a daily schedule that would exhaust by noon any mortal.
I get up in the morning. First thing I do is work with the horses for a half hour to an hour in the morning. Then, fortunately, the other aspect that's good about a family business is I take 2 to 3 hour lunch breaks. During that period of time, I am riding the horses. And then as soon as I get out of here at night, I will ride the horses. And then quite often I have to come back at work late at night because any daylight hours that I can get away, I will be with the horses. And then all day, every day on the weekends, I'm working with the horses. And then periodically I go away to train under some of the best people, which is an all day for a week or a month at a time. Some of the Olympic caliber riders I am in training under. And when you go there, you get up in the morning, ride horses all day, go to bed very sore at night. And it's really heavenly, though, to get away from the business altogether and get that break. But it is my #1 priority. I have to say that, and don't let the people in the business hear that. Horses are #1. The business is a means of getting to the horses, actually.
Well, as you might suspect, August is quite an athlete. When the Anderson family schedules a weekend outing, August is right there in the thick of things.
First water skier of the year.
Keeps it out. Engine's wet.
Hey, Mark! You don't have to be hauled back. Yeah, we don't want to go back any further.
Better push her out then.
Yeah, take it off a little bit. Mark, if you sell 1,000 more receivers, you can afford another ski.
Maybe.
Out of a form-fitting bathing suit,
August is a no-nonsense lady executive on the other end of the telephone at Anderson Scientific.
And I'll go ahead and get on the approval for the terms, and I will issue that credit today. You're welcome. Bye-bye.
But her work schedule is made to fit around her #1 preoccupation in life, her horse Saturn, and her commitment that she and Saturn, or a replica of Saturn if Saturn doesn't measure up, will be representing the United States of America in the 1988 Olympics.
I have the typical dream of all the riders who think they're talented and that I would like to ride in the Olympics one day. And if this horse can't get me there, he'll get me high enough that another horse can. So that's really exciting. Yes. You see him walking that he has about a 12-inch overstep, whereas most horses will have 1 or 2 inches. The back legs coming up to the front legs. He just moves really big, which is a good sign. He's a good boy. But he's not nearly as easy to ride as my smaller horses. He can put up a big fight if he doesn't want to do something. I finally purchased my dream horse, and he's from Sweden. He's a Swedish warm blood. He is my pride and joy every hour of the day that I'm not here. If it's daylight hours, I'm with my horses, as you may have noticed. And I love horses in general, but this is the horse I've been striving to get. He can probably take me to Grand Prix level in dressage. So I saw him in a magazine 6 months ago, and I fell madly in love. I said, somebody picked the fantasy horse out of my head and put him down in real life, and I've been trying to buy him ever since. Finally, 5 days ago, I got this horse, and it's just like riding your dream.
August Anderson, 29 years old, headed for the Olympic gold from the home TVRO industry. Next week, join me in a journey down a highway in South Dakota to witness what is undoubtedly the first mobile in motion reception from a satellite TV system. Yes, in South Dakota, you can watch satellite television while out with your family on a leisurely Saturday afternoon drive. This is Bob Cooper. Good evening from the studios of West Indies Video.
Thank you, Bob Cooper. Joe Kelch is back, the infamous Joe Kelch.
Thank you, Pat. What I wanted to talk about briefly today is the need for humor in our lives. In this respect, we have so many things in the industry and in the world in our lives that are serious, and we need that touch of humor. That's why I so thoroughly enjoy humor in our trade publications, and that's what I look for sometimes. The Return of Indiana Banks is a little story that was run in the most recent issue of Satellite Retailer by a fellow named Bobby Banks. I think it's a fellow. It sounds like a fellow. But at any rate, Bobby has a good sense of humor and talks about the shows that he's been seeing relative to the industry. I have to have a good sense of humor because, in a way, he puts our show down, Pat. Nova Video Productions airs, boy, this is the right word for these shows, air them out. But I love it because, as my dad used to say, call me anything you want, but don't ignore me.
That's true, Joe. That's
okay,
true.
So, but he did say the host is Pat Olson, and she's the only redeeming value on this program. And he goes on to say a few nice things further about Pat Olson, and we agree with that. We also agree that sometimes all of us need an airing out because we do get a little stuffy at times. We think we're pontificating. He also takes apart a few of the other shows on satellite. I don't want to even go into it because I don't say anything bad about anyone, and Bobby Banks does. about Boresight, about Satellite Forum, about FM America. But be that as it may, it's the sort of thing that I look for in the publications. There's a lot of good reading about the technical aspects of the industry, but basically it's this: we do need some humor in our life, and I think that's why Pat Porter's such an important part of our show with Inside Out. Pat's humor is great, and we certainly need that type of humor. But back to what he said, Bobby Banks said about Pat Olson. Pat, I want to get a little bit more background because the people here don't know where you're coming from, basically what your background is, and the fact that you have brought that fresh air to our show.
Well, when I came to this industry 8 months ago now, I didn't know anything about satellite TV. I had worked for 3.5 years in commercial television as a reporter, producer, anchor. So it took a lot of learning, and I wasn't afraid, fortunately, to ask questions about what is this, what is that, and I am still asking those questions. That's what a news reporter has to do, and especially in this industry, I'm not especially technically minded.
Well, I think that goes for a lot in the industry, Pat, and the fact that you ask questions, I think, is good. So many times we're afraid to ask questions. They sound stupid, but they're not. A teacher will tell you that, instructors, people who conduct seminars, they love the questions. They are never stupid.
No, and I think the people who want to learn are the ones who want to ask questions.
Right. So again, a good background for you, Pat, and you're doing very well, I think, in representing the industry. And our basic aim on Satellite Showtime is to present an interesting show, but to be a credit to the industry, and I hope we're doing that, Pat.
I hope so too. Joe, tell a little about yourself.
Well, you reversed the tables here. Well, naturally, I've lived a long time, Pat, obviously. I was in radio for 18 years, in public relations. It'll be 18 years in public relations also since, well, 1968. And I can say this, that basically it's love your fellow human beings and learn as much as you can and come across as a person that wants to help without any axes to grind. And I think that in essence is, and of course have some skills too, but in essence that's what it's all about.
That's right, and Pat Porter says it so well: be happy with what you're doing or get happy. If you don't like your job, change jobs. And I think neither of us has that problem because it's very enjoyable. It's fun working here.
It is. It's the most enjoyable thing I've ever done, the most enjoyable people to work with, and the most enjoyable people out there in the industry.
And speaking of two other good people to work with, they're Pat Porter and Mike Gustafson, and they are coming right up on Satellite Showtime. Stay tuned.
Keep those vital satellite components trouble-free with Quick Pro. Protect your LNA motor and actuator from birds and insects. Its flow-through air vents reduce LNA temperature and control moisture. A high-quality soft neoprene cover that works in extreme cold and heat and has the highest infrared, ozone, and ultraviolet ratings. Quick Pro means long life and great protection. To order, call 1-800-821-7384. In Ohio and outside the U.S., call 419-289-2228.
Introducing the Coltronics Trans 10X. With the latest in antenna technology, this beautifully designed and crafted 10-foot dish is strong and accurate. Coltronics antenna test results are based on the use of chaparral feed horns, recommended for all Coltronics antennas. The Trans 10X features a thermoset black finish and maximum strength ribs, hub, and rim. Experience the quality yourself at a price you won't believe. The Trans 10X lives up to the Coltronics tradition of quality.
Welcome back to Satellite Showtime. I'm Pat Olson. Mike Gustafson is technical editor for STV and Satellite Retailer magazines. Because we've been doing live programs of Satellite Showtime for the past couple of weeks, we haven't seen Mike in a while. So we welcome back Mike Gustafson and Tech Tips.
Hello and good evening. Welcome to Tech Tips. Tonight we're going to be investigating what equipment would really benefit you as an installer and dealers to have around the shop for new system installations and for troubleshooting existing systems. There are many different pieces of equipment on the market today. Some of it is good, some of it's bad. All of it has certain values that may be better for you to have than other pieces. So let's take a look at some of the pieces we've got today. We've got a portable test set that has a satellite receiver built into it and a TV set and a signal strength meter. We have a transmitter. I call this a low-flying satellite. It's actually a GBS 1600 made by Newton Electronics. GBS, just for your information, stands for ground-based satellite. We have a spectrum analyzer manufactured by Lulai Telecommunications. We have the Tweaker 2 and the Squawker. And let's now explain what each one of these does. Let's start out with the spectrum analyzer. All of these are battery operated. Everything here comes with its own internal batteries and is battery operated. Some of the batteries last longer than others. This is the Lulai spectrum analyzer. What is a spectrum analyzer? Fundamentally, a spectrum analyzer is a device which shows you the many different carriers that occur from 3.7 to 4.2. It is what's called the frequency domain. We can actually see transponder 1, 3, etc. along here. This particular analyzer has a couple features. It has normal, which we're seeing the whole band. We go to times 10, and now we can actually tune along and find the different carriers and see how they're working. This particular piece would be very useful for terrestrial interference understanding and suppression. It would be very useful for system troubleshooting. Now, how would we use this? Well, let's start off with terrestrial interference and site surveys. If we were to take this system and its down converter, which is right here, I see I have a magic cable that's broken, and we were to hook it up to a low noise amplifier and just wave it around our site, we'd be able to look around and find out if there were any carriers that didn't belong there. Obviously, right now I'm on a 10-foot dish with a standard LNA, so we're seeing SATCOM 3, and this is the video carriers on SATCOM 3, so it's very strong. But in a site survey environment, you would not have this. You would just have a baseline running across here. And if you saw any frequencies here, it would be terrestrial interference, and you'd be able to determine what's there. Okay, so this is a frequency domain. It's a spectrum analyzer. Very, very valuable. I find them to be just absolutely the cat's meow for doing any kind of serious site work or troubleshooting. Now, how would I use this system if I were using it as a troubleshooting tool? Let's look over here at this little block diagram of a standard system. I could take my spectrum analyzer, and right now I am hooked up at this point. I have my own down converter to the spectrum analyzer. I could look at this point and determine if the antenna, feed, and LNA system was working. If this down converter was in the right range, because the input to the analyzer happens to be 430 to 930, I could disconnect its own internal down converter, hook it up here, and check the down converter and make sure it's working. The Lulai spectrum analyzer provides all its own DC, so it would power up the down converter. There is another analyzer made besides the Lulai. It's the Avcom of Virginia. Both companies make excellent products, and both analyzers have a place in the marketplace. Okay, so let's turn off the spectrum analyzer for a moment, and we'll take our satellite feed and we'll hook it up to something else. The next box I want to talk about is this portable test set. These kind of test sets are made by many companies. This particular one is an older one. I've had it for a few years. It was made by Gillespie Communications, or Gillespie and Associates back in the old days. But there are a few made. There's one made by MSL that works just as well as these, I'm sure. Let's turn it on and see if we can get a picture out of this little guy. It's battery operated. Also has external power. You can plug into it if the battery should go dead. This battery lasts about 4 to 5 hours. We'll turn it on to the battery. Up it comes. We'll tune it. And there's color bars on, I think this is looking at Galaxy 1 at this point. SATCOM 3 or Galaxy 1, I'm not sure which. Anyway, as you can see, it's a black and white monitor. We have variable audio on it. We'll turn it down. Signal strength meter. We can scan it. It scans through all the channels. We have audio tune, video fine tune, video channel tune. There's channel 3 output, which means we could in fact take whatever the satellite receiver is seeing, pump it out on channel 3. We can actually take VHF in from the TV antenna and put it up on our monitor and actually tell if the VHF antenna in the customer's house is working right. We loop the audio and video in and out, so if we had color monitors or we were testing color monitors or VCRs at the customer's house, we could disconnect the loop-throughs and actually hook that up and see how that's working. We also have the IF loop-through, 70 megahertz in this particular case, is brought out and back in again. So in terrestrial interference cases, I can actually take this off, put my filters in this line, and see how well the job is going as far as putting filters in or not putting filters in. I can also cycle power to the LNA. If I don't happen to need it, I can actually turn the power off. Now let's take a look at my block diagram and see how I might use this test set. The test set's my favorite. I think it's the most versatile. We could first take the output just as we are right now from the LNA, hook it up to the test set, and we've completely replaced everything in this chain. Then I can hook this back up, take the down converter out, and if it were a 70 megahertz IF system, plug it into the IF of the satellite portable test set, and I would be able to test that. I could take the output of the satellite receiver, plug it into the monitor that came with the portable test set, and test that this whole chain is or is not working. And lastly, I can take the output from the test set. Say I had the test set hooked up here. I could take it and plug it into the customer's TV and verify that the TV is on the right channel. Sometimes the customer's TV sets are not on channel 3 or channel 4 like they're supposed to be, and that would test that as well. It's a very versatile system. It's also excellent for terrestrial interference and site surveys. The combination of this and the Toki TA900 portable antenna makes site surveys a real pleasure to do. Walk into the customer's backyard, set it all up, and show them a picture in about 10 minutes. So that's the portable test set with a receiver, TV set, receiver, and battery-operated system. The next piece I want to talk about is the GBS1600. Now, unlike the test set and the spectrum analyzer, they are receivers, if you will. The analyzer receives information, the test set receives information. Well, the GBS1600 transmits information. What does that mean? Well, instead of being passive and just listening to whatever we give it, it actually puts out a signal that simulates the satellite. So we have the output here. It's type-in connector. We'll plug it right into our test system, our test set, just for fun. I'll also plug it into the spectrum analyzer in a moment. I turn it on, and lo and behold, there we have our color bars and a signal strength reading. This is transmitting on either transponder 1, 12, or 24. Only 3 channels, 3, 7, and 4, 2. It also has an output for 70 megahertz. So we could, if we had a 70 megahertz system, we could plug it into it and get it to work directly. It has an output for channel 3 or channel 4 on the TV set. In all cases, these outputs are color bars. So if you went into a customer's house and he thought the TV set was bad, you could take the customer's TV, hook it up to this channel 3 port, turn it on, and if you saw color bars, you know the TV set was good. The audio is switchable between 6.8 and 6.2. The video will invert and not invert on the 70 megahertz input only. It's also a neat little feature that if we, I don't think you can see it because of the lighting, but if the DC is not present coming from whatever system the GBS is looking at, it turns the light on and off indicating DC there. One interesting little feature that I might add is that it has what is called a super feed. Now you've heard of the Chaparral super feed. Well, this is super feed. It's a Campbell soup can. Has a little antenna down inside it, and this screws on the front and actually radiates. And how would we use this, the GBS1600, as a troubleshooting tool? And that's its primary value is only troubleshooting. You couldn't really use this for system alignment or new system installation. You could use it to check out new equipment, certainly, but you couldn't use it to test a system that's in the field. Okay, so here we go. We have the antenna system. For the very first thing we could do is we could hook up the super feed, set it on the ground out here, put it on transponder 1, and transmit into the dish. We could walk back into the house, take a look at the TV set, put the satellite receiver on transponder 1, and if we didn't see color bars, we knew we were in trouble. We had a problem. Next thing we could do, let's suppose we suspicion that the LNA was bad. We would take the 37042 output from the 1600, plug it directly into the down converter. Go back into the house and check it out. If we saw color bars, we'd know that the LNA was dead or there was some problem with the dish. The next thing we could do would be, if the IFs were correct, we could hook up the IF input into the receiver and test the receiver. And the very last thing we could do would be to take the channel 3 output and plug it into the TV set. And all in all, on a troubleshooting system, you could break each part of the system apart and take a look at it using the 1600 as a transmitter. Okay, with the 1600 running, let's plug it into the spectrum analyzer and see what it looks like. So we have transponder 1 dialed up, and we have 37042 being dialed across, and we can see transponder 1 is sitting right here, transponder 12, transponder 24. Because the system is so closely coupled, that is, we just have cables, we're really, with the gain turned all the way down, we really are off screen. If we wanted to investigate that signal a little bit closer, there it is. That is the output of the 1600. The analyzer is probably being driven a little bit hard. That's why you see some other spurious responses. Normally you wouldn't see that, but it kind of gives you some idea of how the 1600 actually operates. Okay, the next item I'd like to take a look at is a couple of less expensive. All these boxes are fairly expensive. The test sets are usually in the $1,000 to $1,200 range. 1600 I think is around $700. Analyzer vary everywhere from $800 to $2,000. Now these little boxes here, there's two of them that I happen to like. One is called the Squawker, and you'll find out why in a moment, and that's made by Foci, and the other one is the Tweaker 2, made by Northwest Sat Labs. Well, you might ask, why is it called the Squawker and what does it do? Well, it's a simple little box, battery operated. No more reason why we should know why it's called a Squawker. It includes, let me turn the volume down just a little bit, a signal strength meter and an audio tone that varies as a function of the signal strength. Now what actually happens, and you can see there's little operating instructions built in here, we take and split the IF frequency anywhere from 70 megahertz all the way up to 1500 megahertz, plug it into the back of the Squawker, and we can use it to troubleshoot the system or track a system. When it closes, it automatically turns off. Here are your inputs. How would I use these two devices? Let me show you this guy first before we go into that. This is the Tweaker. It's pretty much the same thing. We turn it on. It has a tone. You can disable the tone. You can test the battery function. You can change the sensitivity of the meter. You can reset it. You get both an analog meter and a digital meter, which is a nice combination. It's good from 50 megahertz to 1500 megahertz, and much like the Squawker, has inputs that allow you to come in at any IF you'd care to choose, as long as it's an IF in the 50 to 1500 megahertz range. Now both these boxes are relatively inexpensive, in the $200 or less range, and both do fundamentally the same thing. And how would I use either of these boxes? Well, they can be used both as a signal strength meter, tracking the antenna on the satellite arc, and troubleshooting the system. Since they both require IFs, we're in all cases always going to be dealing with the system after the down converter, such that if you came out and you wanted to peak up, as an example, the focal point of the antenna on a new antenna installation, you would take the existing down converter, put a splitter here, which they provide in both cases. The splitter is provided as part of the package, and the Tweaker and Squawker would be installed looping through, and you'd be able to carry it around the front and move the focal point back and forth and find the best spot for the system to operate. If you're trying to track the dish, you could use the same thing. You'd need a down converter, fire it up with the receiver, so the receiver provides the DC, put your splitter in the line, and the Squeaker and Squawker would in fact give you the signal strength as you move the dish back and forth. If you had some sort of a failure out here and wanted to be outside and not go inside, of course you can change out the LNA or the down converter while the Squawker and Tweaker are hooked up and determine which one is in fact not working. But they're primarily a tool used for tweaking, and for, that's where the Tweaker 2 came from, I'm sure, and fine-tuning a satellite system. Okay, the last two pieces of equipment I think absolutely is a requirement for any kind of dealer or operation is either a digital voltmeter or an analog voltmeter. Now, these are relatively inexpensive. This particular Beckman digital voltmeter is certainly less than $100, and the old reliable triplet VOM is about $75 or $80. Neither of these can do too much as far as RF or IF type of work, but they are absolutely invaluable, and every installer should in fact have one of these in his good old kit bag. How you'd use these is primarily in measuring DC voltages on the operating system, measuring DC currents, and using the ohming function in order to find those troublesome shorts and opens that you know happen in any kind of a cable system. So, certainly a requirement here for digital voltmeter and analog. I'm not sure which one I could recommend, whether analog or digital, but the old reliable digital analog, I think, is really the way to go. And I know Radio Shack sells some of these very, very inexpensively. And if you dropped it, you wouldn't have your heart broken. If I dropped my old triplet here, I'd probably break out in tears. It's such an old, reliable VOM. Okay, we've covered quite a few pieces of test equipment today. The portable test set, the portable transmitter, portable spectrum analyzer, 2 IF tuning systems in the Foci and the Tweaker 2, a Squawker and the Tweaker 2, I should say. And the only other item I can think of that we haven't talked about is an antenna. A few sessions back, I did a product review on the Lulai Toki TA900 as a portable antenna system. That, of course, would also go very well with most of these systems as being used for new system installations, testing old systems, terrestrial interference suppression. Many different things with that antenna and this equipment come in very handy for installers and dealers in the TVRO industry. So I think that pretty well runs me out of time at this time. Thank you very much for viewing. We'll see you next week.
In case you want to write to Mike for questions or comments on his segment, you can write to him at Post Office Box 20700, San Jose, California 95160. Pat Porter is another man who likes to hear from you, as he'll show you next in his Insight Out segment on Satellite Showtime. Stay with us.
The Caltronics Trans 8, a great antenna. This transparent 8-foot antenna delivers an out-of-this-world picture to you. Not only does it perform, it looks great. A low-luster appeal with a baked acrylic thermoset black finish. The Trans 8 aims to get the best signals. Caltronics antenna test results are based on the use of chaparral feed horns, recommended for all Caltronics antennas. The Trans 8, another quality antenna from the quality people at Caltronics.
Want to know more about satellite TV? Then go to the source for product reviews and how-tos. We're on the road and out in space, and sometimes in very cold places, with features and technical reports. It's all in satellite TV. That's only $19.95 for 12 big issues of STV magazine. Call now, 1-800-438-2020, and get this LCD calendar clock free with your subscription. That's 12 big issues of STV magazine and the clock for only $19.95. The number again is 1-800-438-2020. 1-800-438-2020. Call now.
Satellite TV Preview is the best thing next to your satellite dish. With all those programs now at your fingertips, you won't want to miss a thing. Satellite Preview lists over 100 transponders in an easy-to-read weekly grid schedule. It has a daily list of movies, specials, and sports, plus a list of sports by event. Call and subscribe now for only $47 for 52 issues and save $31 off the newsstand price. Or call for a free sample copy. Dealers, we also have a special offer for you. Call 800-826-0735. Visa and MasterCard accepted. Satellite TV Preview, the best thing next to television.
Welcome back to Satellite Showtime. Now here's the seasoned traveler, Pat Porter.
Hi, I'm Pat Porter with Inside Out, this segment of Satellite Showtime. And I'm glad for you to be with me, and I'm glad to have an opportunity to visit with you. You know, as I go around, a lot of people say, how am I doing? What am I doing? And I say, well, I kind of reminded of the story about Jerry Clower. Jerry Clower tells a story about crossing a campus and seeing this sign, and the sign says, where are you going to be when you get where you're going? Brother Dave Gardner used to tell a story about an old boy down in South Alabama, and he'd going along ankling down the road, and he heard something. And he kept hearing something, kaplong, kaplong. And he kept looking, and all of a sudden up there in the fork of a gum tree sat an old boy, and he had a guitar. Kaplong, kaplong. And he just had one string on his guitar, and he was not moving his hand. Kaplong. He said, hey, man. Said, yeah. Said, what are you doing? He said, you fool, can you not see I'm a-playing the guitar? He said, wait a minute. I've seen Chet Atkins, and he said, I've seen Roy Orbison, and I've seen Roy Clark, and they've got 6 strings on their guitar, and they're just a-getting it. He said, man, do you not see? Them cats are still hunting it, and I done found it. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. You know, I'm scared about people maybe finding something and not knowing what they found when they get there. A lot of people said, how do you achieve success? And I have no idea. Because I feel this way, and I feel very strongly that success is a journey, not a destination. And one of the ways that you can tell if you're going to get where you're going is to break through the boundaries. Satellite Showtime and Insight, hopefully, is your eye and your window into the industry that you're in. Hopefully you're making money in this industry because you're performing a service for people. What you're doing is right. What you're doing is fair. You're bringing entertainment to millions of people, signal-starved people, that have no other way to get this programming. I believe that you're on the right track. You know, I worked for a fellow one time, and he says, it doesn't matter what you do as long as you do it for the right reason. And I think that you're doing right now the right thing for the right reason. And then you'll get where you're going. I want to thank you so much for joining with me on this particular segment of Inside Out with Pat Porter.
This concludes this evening's Satellite Showtime, brought to you by our corporate sponsors: Luxor North America, Coltronics Incorporated, and STV and OnSat magazines. Joe Kelch is here again, and he has a message for you with a fly in your face.
Right, a little fly in the sky. The message is simple and quite brief. The show is going to be on a different transponder 2 weeks from now. Next week we'll still be on 22, but 2 weeks from now, look for us on a different transponder. Pat?
Okay, and next week we'll still be on SATCOM 4, transponder 22, and you can look forward to seeing Mike Gustafson with his next segment, and also you'll learn about SPACE's National Dealer Consumer Awareness Program. That's next week. See you then. Good night.
Good night.